Oh, Russ, we'll start with you because you brought it up first because you spoke first. What do you make of the Buffalo Bills right now? Like, if you're looking, if forget every other team. Well, I guess you kind of can't because you have to put things into perspective. But if you're just looking at the Buffalo Bills right now, what do you think they are like in terms of the entire rest of the year? Like, is it as simple as if Josh Allen's healthy, everything will be okay? Or are you starting to waver a little bit on who and what this team is based on what they've shown you these last several weeks?
They're about to be on upset alert this week, baby.
Don't do that.
Thursday.
Don't do that.
Give
What
me
are we
my
doing?
turkey leg. um, no, so yeah, I mean, I'm with you. You make a great point there. I mean, if Josh Allen's okay, I think they're okay, and I really think that's what it boils down to. I mean, I've always kind of been a fan of Devin Singletary when he was coming out of Florida Atlantic. I did a breakdown here at Cover One about him when he was coming out. He's just such a fun player. I know me and Eric talk really highly of him. And it's definitely kind of taken him a while to get going, but it just seems like when he's involved in this offense,
Yeah.
it seems like it's better. And you saw it today. He was able to have some big runs. He's able to catch passes out of the backfield. We're starting to see Gabe Davis get utilized a little bit more. The same with Dawson Knox. So that's good. And Stephon Diggs is still going to go out and get his. So I'm really liking the pieces that are starting to come around and how the offense is starting to unfold a little bit from a production standpoint. But again, we mentioned Josh Allen. He's the question mark. I mean, we all know if he's not there, this team isn't. I'm sorry, guys, they're not going anywhere. Like, I have no faith in Case Keenum. I don't believe they're going to go out and get Cam Newton off the street and make it happen. Like, it's Josh Allen or bust for this team, which is I can't believe I'm saying that because 4 years ago I thought the guy was terrible out coming out of college, but he was. No, it's a fact. He was very bad. Like, there's a lot of potential, but he wasn't very good. And it's hard to believe that guys like Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen were able to fix some of their flaws or make their flaws like a positive in today's game.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't happen 10 years ago, and it's happening with guys like Allen and Mahomes. So I think, with Allen, obviously, where's he going to be for his long-term health? Are they able to string together a couple of wins here against Detroit, New England, New York, and Miami, where maybe he could rest against Chicago, potentially, rest against New England to end the year or something like that? I don't know if he'd necessarily, get that rest against Cincinnati, kind of a big game there. But what I know, right? But like, where is he going to be health wise? He's got to start, resting a little bit. The 60, 70-yard bombs that we see a part of this offense, especially early in the year, it just doesn't. I don't feel like that's going to start existing until we get a true diagnosis of this elbow, of what the long term, solution is going to be for it. Is he going to need surgery in the offseason? Is there going to be a long timetable of recovery for him? We'll see.
Stop doing this.
I'm sorry, bro. It's the truth. I hate saying it to you. Look, bro. I've been there where there was a few years ago where Detroit was really getting in the groove when they had Ndamukong Suh, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Bush was there. They were looking pretty good. Like, okay, we're going to win a freaking playoff game, which I haven't seen since the day I was born, basically. And and he hurt his hand from Julius Peppers, who's one of my all-time favorite players, still will drive me nuts to this day. And he hit him in the hand against Chicago, and he messed up his throwing hand. He was not the same quarterback after that. And it's like, these injuries, they just linger, and it worries me. So I've been down this road. It sounds crazy, but I have been, and it worries me. But
elbows aren't important to quarterbacks, especially on their throwing arm. They don't need it. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he could just do all forearm and shoulder. I mean, if that's what he wants to do.
Or throw lefty. That's easy. Just throw lefty.
Just switch it up.
Maybe he could call Phillip Rivers and learns how to shot put it or something.
Get in the lab. Get in the lab, change his motion.
That'll work. I mean, it's so aside from Josh Allen, is there any concerns for you guys defensively with Buffalo, where they're not going to be able to stop anybody? Because regardless of the injuries, it just seems like they can make the stops when they need to. They can hold a team to 3 points when they need to. I know it seems kind of like an odd couple of weeks here, in and out of wins and losses and bad losses and odd wins and snowstorms and everything else. But defensively, it seems to be a pretty consistent unit week in and week out. And I don't think there's really been an alarming game outside of maybe Minnesota. And I don't even think we would have been having this conversation had they not fumbled the football.
That's fair. Kendall, I have an answer, but if you want, you may take the floor.
No, I already took one from you.
One that definitely concerns me, the tackling piece.
Yes.
Concerns me. It reared its head a little bit again today, but in doing my prep for this week, so of boxes with 7 defenders or less, which the Bills are in 90% of the time, 58% of the time they're in a light box, 32% of the time they're in 7-man boxes. So 90% of the time they have 7 or less defenders in the box. In those scenarios, they have the highest broken tackle plus missed tackle per attempt percentage in the entire league at 16.3. And you saw that today. Granted, Poyer is playing basically with one arm, but you saw missed tackles from Poyer. You saw missed tackles from DeMar Hamlin. You saw missed tackles from Dane Jackson. You saw some from Tyrell Dodson. And granted, I think Edmonds' health and the health of the defensive players in general, once Rousseau comes back and Trey White and Kyer Elam and Tremaine Edmonds and all these pieces start to come back, I think things change a bit. But what concerns me for the defense, and it was something that we hadn't seen going into the bye week, especially even against Kansas City, like the Bills' open field tackling and tackling in the box and in the hole was very, very, very good. What we've seen coming out against Green Bay, against the Jets, against Minnesota, and again today against the Cleveland Browns, the Bills are missing tackles in these scenarios. And it concerns me from the perspective of we know what the Bills are. Over 70% of the time, they're going to be in those 2 high shells pre-snap. They want to play 6 or 7 defenders in the box. When you are doing that, you are already admitting somebody has to come from depth, either the second level or third level, and come from depth and fill and make a tackle and make a play, which is how you limit those 8 or 10 yard gains to 4 or 6, or that 15 or 20 yard gain, you limit it to like 8 or 10. I'm worried that the missed tackling piece that we've seen, actually, honestly, like the last couple of years under Frazier and McDermott, it's starting to rear its ugly head a little bit again. And I think it's more than just, well, when the defense gets healthy, because some of the healthy guys who will be returning are missing some of those tackles. And some of those missed tackles are due to players being put into situations that are going to continue to come up. Safeties are going to have to fill from depth. Corners are going to be asked to crack, replace, and make tackles one-on-one with running backs. You are going to get these scenarios. That worries me a bit. The run defense piece was a concern that I had, and it wasn't just because they held Chubb relatively in check today, but a lot of the struggles the Bills have had these last several weeks with the run game, some of it was just bad luck. Like you're bringing a run blitz from the right, and the team runs to the left, and it's just like, oh, crap. Like they ran away from what we did. That's bad luck. Or you would get penetration and just one guy misses the tackle. And so my thought is, okay, like those things will eventually regress towards the mean positively. But the missed tackling piece is a big issue for me. And especially as you start to move forward. And again, this isn't just like cliches or proverbial like lines. All the teams that we've talked about so far, right? Who's going to host playoff games in the AFC? The Bills, potentially, Kansas City, the Bengals, the Ravens, all these teams, I guess, aside from Miami, who has an opportunity to, but is a warmer weather team, you're most likely going to go to some place that's cold and may have snow and may have rain, or it's going to be that playoff football weather. And what do you have to do? You have to play good, sound, technical defense, and the other team you're playing against is probably going to try and run the football. And even if they don't run the football, even if you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs again, cool. Are you going to be able to tackle Kadarius Toney in the open field? If they're finding more success in this run game with Isaiah Pacheco, is Pacheco going to run through a shoulder? Or are you going to be able to come down and drop the hammer and hold a 10 or 15-yard gain to 4 or 6 or 8? The missed tackling piece is a big concern for me on the defense. Again, we saw today, even from the guys who DeMar Hamlin has been a really sure tackler coming from depth today. He missed several, whether it was in the pass game or in the run game. So you're starting to see it again. And with how fast flowing and aggressive this defense is, it worries me that, again, when you're facing these teams that you can't give any quarter to, because there's a big difference, not to keep drilling on this point, but missing a tackle versus Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't the same as missing a tackle against Jamar Chase or Rashad
100%.
Bateman or like these dudes who can fly and who are like plus matchup athletes. And so that scares me a bit. I think some of the structural and schematic pieces that are worrisome, I'm not too concerned just based on the tape study, although there is some trepidation there for me, but the missed tackling piece is definitely one for me. Kendall, what do you got?
I got two things. I mean, first thing is really getting back to the point of health. And I think a lot of it, I mean, the Josh Allen thing is definitely worrisome, but I think it's probably going to show more of itself next year, in my opinion. I think if there's something to do off season wise with rehab, like that's going to be what sets the Bills back, and it's going to be felt more next year. That being said, I think we've seen through 2 games of him playing through this injury, we've seen some issues with grip and even like accuracy. I think you've seen it. Like you've seen him miss throws he doesn't usually miss.
And
Like
he's missing them everywhere, high, low, right, left. Like you can tell that it's just like it's got to be something either mental or physical because he's missing everywhere.
something is just a little bit off, but it's not affecting him to a level of like, oh, this guy's done. It's just you can definitely tell there is something tangibly different with his accuracy, and it probably does come back to that grip strength thing that was reported back when the initial injury happened. But then getting towards, I mean, just team wide, you even talked about it, and like on the defense, there's just so much missing right now. And sure, you can overcome that and you can kind of like steal wins with these depth players right now. But like, what happens if you have to play a better team? Like, what happens if you have to play the Dolphins with the roster we just put out today? So then you start thinking, okay, what are the issues? Is it schematic? Is it personnel based? And it's probably just personnel based. But we need to see that, and we need to see this team get to full health, at least on the defensive side, because I mean, we just haven't had it all season, especially with getting Trey White back. So time will tell on that. But like Russ said, the defense keeps holding strong, even with the depth pieces. So it'll be nice to see what it looks like when it's at full strength. The second point, and probably the most potent point, like in terms of what it's going to be towards the end of the season, it is the running game. And you talked about it in terms of defending the run. It goes the same way for actually running the football. Like you said, most home games are going to be played in cold weather when it's the playoffs, or even if there's a really late game in the season, like if that Patriots game means something week 18, if that Bengals game means something for seeding, like those games will probably have some sort of inclement weather, and you're not going to want to throw Josh Allen 50 times in that game.
Or you might not even be able to because the weather's going to be so bad.
Exactly. And then to Russ's point, like the team just looks better when Devin Singletary's doing well. And it's happened every single time Singletary's had like a touchdown and at least like 60 yards. The team just seems to be operating more efficiently. And the fact that the barometer is only 60 yards is just wild, because that's all this offense needs. It needs a traditional running game from running backs to take the pressure off of Josh Allen. And it just makes life easier for the offense, life harder for the defense, because who are they going to key in on? And it goes back to the point of this team. If Josh Allen isn't healthy, what is this team? And that's the point. There's so much pressure being put on Josh Allen to be this team, to be this offense. He is so much percentage-wise of this offense's efficiency. Finding ways to take that pressure off of him and lower that percentage and throw it onto someone else, it's only going to be better for this offense. You just need to find a way to do it efficiently. And I think mixing in Cook, Hines, Singletary, finding ways for defenses to respect that guy lining up right next to Josh Allen, not the guy wearing 17, is going to be huge for this defense moving forward and as the weather gets worse.
That's my biggest concern. Like if we're sticking to the Buffalo Bills, I recognize the struggles the defense has had in certain degrees or in certain aspects. And again, I think there are some schematic issues, like teams realizing what they can do with motion and the shifts that they can cause, and then how they can run weak side off of that, or what they can do against the Bills fronts based on using their rules against them. Like I think that is prevalent, but I think they're built and equipped enough to weather that storm. I'm more concerned about the offensive side of the ball. And Kendall, you and I discussed this in the offseason, pre-draft, post-draft, when I had you on Disguise Coverage a couple times when we did our like storylines for the season and concerns and different pieces. I'm concerned about this offensive line, and I still will be. I hate singling out players for poor performances, just because, again, like these are some of the best athletes in the world, and they're tremendous at a sport that most people probably will never be able to comprehend. But Spencer Brown is a liability to me. He is still getting beat in ways that he's getting beat in like a half a second. There was one today, again, granted it's Myles Garrett, the completion to Diggs on like an out on second down. Myles Garrett beat Brown, and you heard everybody in the stadium go like, oh, and then Josh Allen threw it, right? And it's not just, well, okay, it's Myles Garrett. Oh, it's Danielle Hunter. No, it's also like Bryce Huff against, Quessenberry, because what happens, Spencer Brown has been injury prone so far in these couple of years. Quessenberry's the next man up. Like, are you getting beat by depth guys? Are you getting beat by stars? And even if you're getting beat by stars, I know some people want to be like, yeah, but they're getting beat by these great guys. Cool. Those are the dudes you're going to face when you're trying to get to a championship. Correct. Like, if you have to play or just roll through like the teams like Cincinnati. Okay, cool. Sam Hubbard is no joke. Trey Hendrickson is definitely no joke. Karlaftis is starting to put some more things together. And we already know what Chris Jones and Clark can do up front for the Chiefs. I'm not going to go like team by team, but all of these teams have horses up front that can give you problems. You've got question marks at right tackle. Bates has been vulnerable several times in the run and the pass this year. Roger Saffold, I think, has been fine enough against the run, but we knew coming into the year that he had limitations as a pass protector, which again, I'm not making it seem like it's excusable, but dude has had like a long Iron Man career in the NFL, and he's in like to his early and mid 30s. Like, there's a lot of mileage on the tires. He's not built to set up and be this pass protecting monster. That's not his game. I have questions about the offensive line in pass protection and in the run game. And then tying it to Ken Dorsey, they started to do it more in the second half today. But there's just been so many things that have been missing from this offense, like under center play action or pre-snap motion or layering to their run game. Just a simple tweak of like, just send somebody in an orbit motion and try and pull or hold a weak side linebacker or an edge defender or that corner to prevent them from crashing down in your zone run. Just all these little tweaks that have been missing from this offense, and they're covered up because Josh Allen is a unicorn. Oh, your pass protection isn't good? Cool. Josh Allen's going to make a dude miss and he's going to make a play. Yeah. Oh, cool. Like, you have no running game? That's fine. Josh Allen can be your running game with QB power or with scrambles. He'll make up for it. Oh, like the other team is guarding for that? Cool. Throw it 55 times and he's going to throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and you'll be fine. He has erased so much. He has been, you know what he's been like? And this is like a comp I'm surprised we haven't made yet. What Devontae Adams was to the Packers offense. Oh, it doesn't matter what we called. I'm just going to get to the line and I see I got one-on-one with Devontae. Cool. I'm just going to throw a back shoulder or a quick little smoke screen and let him do a thing. Boom, that's it. Easy button, Devontae Adams. Easy button, Devontae Adams. The Bills now, their easy button is Josh Allen because he is the playbook. But all of a sudden, that unicorn, he's got a messed up elbow, and the elbow is tremendously important to throwing the friggin' football. And now it's starting to mess with his physical ability, but also some of his mental ability. I have questions, and I don't think it's like a crazy thing or even super negative. Like, I don't want people to see this and be like, yeah, Ken Dorsey sucks. He's a first-time OC. He's never been the play caller for a team, and he's got the keys to a Ferrari that's built to win championships like right away. I think it's understandable that he's having some growing pains or he is being figured out a little bit, or there are some areas that he's struggling in, or there is some disconnect or some sort of disjointing, but he's got to figure that crap out like in a hurry, because when Josh Allen was healthy, it was cool. You could just rely on that easy button. Now he's not. A comp that I made earlier, and I really like this comp. We saw the Cowboys offense change so much when Cooper Rush was in there. They were adding elements to insulate and protect Cooper Rush. And then when Dak came back, they took some of those pieces that worked and kept it. And now Dak is succeeding even more than he was before he went down with the injury. But the Bills offense needs to do similar pieces like that, because they can't just rely on Josh to be the sole focal point and drive the entire team. You have to protect him
a little bit.
Correct.
Build insurance policies.
There you go. And whether that's with Devin Singletary runs or James Cook runs or more gadget pieces for Naheem Hines or Isaiah McKenzie, or more designer plays, like designed to purposefully get one guy the ball, like instead of just always relying on Josh to come out and read it out and get from 1 to 3 in the progression and make a play, and also avoid the edge rusher that's coming free off the edge because he beats somebody, or making him also have to read the blitz after he also ran for 15 yards for a first down and had to truck a linebacker. Like, instead of heaping, that's too much for anybody.
It's too real what you just, like, I know you're trying to be hyperbolic, but it's
no, but I'm using examples. Like, that it's all real. And like that's a lot for anyone in week 1 when they're fresh and healthy and they're coming out of the hyperbaric chamber and everything's Gucci and they're all good. It's even more when you got a damaged wing, and that wing is how you throw the football. And maybe it's also affecting your mentals a little bit because you don't feel confident in that piece. And mental health is just as important as physical health. So that's where my concerns lie. The health of Josh Allen, like you both outlined, but then I guess right and connected with that is, does Ken Dorsey have what it takes to supplement and buttress Josh Allen and cover up for him until he is able to get healthy? And then maybe they find some things that work in that way. It would be nice if the Bills it was like, you know what, cool. We'll just rely on the OC to cook some stuff up, no pun intended, and we'll get through this stretch with Josh Allen being hurt. Or you know what, cool. We'll just rely on the run game. I don't have faith in either of those. Or even just being like, it's cool. We have an offensive line. They can just protect him in the pass. No. Like, all of those things are like,
we need your 75% Josh Allen to perform like at least 95%.
And that's a big question. And that's a big question going forward, like just regular season, right? So again, if we're just focusing on the Bills, if they don't get the 1 seed or get a home playoff game, whatever, cool. They're going on the road. They're probably going to be on the road for the entire playoffs. That means you're going to Miami, or you're going to Tennessee, or you're going to Baltimore, or you're going to Kansas City again in the playoffs. All places against teams that are good football teams and against teams that are no slouch. And if your road isn't easy going in there and the playbook is out on you, it's even harder come playoff time when everything's about matchups. Like, if you can't start to find some semblance of an identity other than just opening the playbook and it's a fucking picture of Josh Allen, like, then you got problems. Like, we made that joke so much. Like, the Bills playbook isn't like, oh yeah, it's a West Coast offense based on this, or like, oh yeah, it's a it's an inverted veer and based around this, and we do this. No, like, you open up the playbook, just a picture of Josh Allen, like, throwing, and then the second picture of the playbook is just him, like a picture like this. That's what it is, and that's cool when that unicorn is good and healthy. But when he's not, somebody else has to step up. And it starts with the design and the architect of that offense. And it starts with the other aspects of football on the offensive side of the ball that isn't just the unicorn. And it's
contingent on the unicorn. Yeah.
Scary. And it's nerve-wracking. And again, when you're going up against, like, the foil for the Bills will continue to be the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs until they prove otherwise. And look who they're coached by, like Andy Reid, who has had his own struggles back in Philadelphia, but he's always been a good football mind. And then on the other side of the ball, you got Steve Spagnuolo, what is he known for? His designers and his ability to put quarterbacks in a blender because of the looks he can provide. And like Russ's point earlier, a bunch of their young dudes who they had to throw in and baptize by fire early in the year, they're starting to play better. And also Trent McDuffie came back and he's starting to find a groove a little bit. And like, they're starting to add these pieces who are starting to become more real. Like, it's a scary thought for the Buffalo Bills. They can't kind of put it together and find a way to win other than just being like, Josh, go do something. Go make something happen. Like, that's a scary piece for the Bills.
And that's especially because, like, that's how it was early in the year. I mean, you remember week 1, week 2, so on and so forth. It was just whenever they wanted, they could put up major points. Mm-hmm. And now it just doesn't feel like they can. Maybe they can. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overlooking that piece. But
well, even on like today, like they put up 31 points on a day where everyone thought the offense looked like crap. So like, but again, to that point, the conversation still keeps happening. Like, man, imagine what they're going to look like when they put it all together. I think the conversation more now needs to be like, are they going to put it together? Because they haven't. Yeah. It's 11 weeks. Yeah. And you can play both sides. We were 11 weeks in, and we still haven't seen the Bills offense play a complete game of football. On the one hand, you can be like, yeah, and they're 7-3, and they could easily be like 9-1. So look at that. But on the other side, it can be like, well, why haven't they put a complete game together? What continues to hold them back?
Yeah, I mean, is there a game here down the stretch or a couple of games on their schedule where you're like, this could be where they put it all together? Or is this where, like, not the wheels fall off, but like they really struggle to put it all together?
For me, the struggling part is going to come that stretch of New England, the Jets, and Miami. All three teams have the ability to give the Bills problems in a variety of ways, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. You know, Miami looked like they had been cooking up that game plan for week 3. Like they've been cooking that up all summer. They threw everything, and it was tremendously impressive what they threw at Josh Allen in that game. So Miami has the potential to give the Bills problems. We've already seen what the Jets can do. The Jets defense is very real, and that front four and that back end and Robert Saleh isn't going anywhere by the time the Bills play him again. The Patriots defense is starting to feel themselves a little bit, like with what they're able to do. Matthew Judon is having another tremendous year. Also, somebody who's not getting talked about, and I don't want to get too off the rails, Kyle Duggar is sick.
Yeah, yes, he is.
Ton of ways. He is crushing it. Like, I don't want to get too off the rails, but Kyle Duggar's crushing it. You've got Belichick still there, who has the ability to, if Bill Belichick created some game plan that shut Josh Allen down, would anybody really be too surprised? I think that's the stretch right there against 3 teams that have the familiarity, but also 3 AFC teams, 3 AFC East teams. I think that's the stretch. If the Bills come out of that stretch 3-0 or anything less than 3-0 is a problem, because who did they lose to? And if they lose to any of those teams, it hurts their opportunity significantly to win the AFC East. That is the stretch where I think they prove themselves. It would be nice if they came out and absolutely piss-pounded Detroit. Sorry, Russ. But that's also a piece, too. Like, Detroit's scrappy, and they got some dudes. Like, I wouldn't expect a cakewalk if you're going in to play the Detroit Lions. I also wouldn't, despite the jokes about the Bears, I wouldn't expect a cakewalk against Chicago. Now that the Bears suddenly realize that if we get Justin Fields on the move, that good things can happen. Crazy shock. Who would have thought that? Like, I don't think there's any cakewalk games down the stretch, but that AFC East, that three game gauntlet is what decides the year for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I was going to say it depends, like, in terms of a get-right game, like, Russ, you were asking, are we going to see that full effort, complete offensive effort from the Bills?
Yeah.
Like, depends what kind of defense, what kind of Lions defense are we going to get this week? Like, I mean, the Lions have shown so many different shades of what their defense can be and is.
Yes.
If we get the bad Lions defense, like, this is a week that we could see the Bills have a complete offensive attack. But if you get this scrappy Lions defense, then you might see some struggles, and you might see another game where your piece working stuff together on offense. Dorsey's trying to figure out what the identity is, how to make things work more efficiently, all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be a long fight through adversity, and he's just going to have to keep kind of piecing together what works best with the pieces that they have.
Yeah, and we'll probably have to do a separate show or something previewing this Lions game a little bit later this week if you guys are up for it. But I think, looking at what the Lions did today against the Giants, which I'll be honest, I was not expecting that by any means, to keep Saquon basically under wraps the entire game, essentially force the Giants to bench him so he doesn't get hurt. And the way that they kind of exposed Andrew Thomas a little bit at times and other pieces of that offensive line, like Nick Gates and stuff like that, like I'll have to watch the All-22 and really see it. But like, Andrew Thomas was somebody that was like 2nd or 3rd in Pro Football Focus as far as overall pass blocking grades.
He's been having a tremendous year. I watched a bunch of tape on him. He's had a good year.
Yeah. He hasn't given up a sack. He's only given up like 9 total pressures. Like, he has looked phenomenal. And the fact that the Lions got after it, despite him being there, and again, there's 5 total offensive linemen, so it might not just have been him, but like, it was Anzalone blitzing up the middle. Aiden Hutchinson was getting off the edge. Aleem McNeil had his way a couple times up the middle. So, like, if there's any issues with Spencer Brown, like you mentioned, Roger Saffold, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Lions do and send that way to obviously force Josh outside of the pocket. I'm not like, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm not worried about Josh Allen running and getting yards through the ground. That, like, if I'm betting on that game, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm in Detroit, I'm down at the casino, which wouldn't surprise me. I did see a couple of Bills fans. I was at the casino actually on.
I was gonna say, of course you're at the casino, and of course you were betting. I knew it.
Yeah. No, I was up there at Friday, so I saw a couple of Bills fans there, and it was for an event or whatever. But
sure.
Just
I had to be there.
Yeah. Bet the mortgage, whatever. But no, like, player props wise, Josh Allen over whatever his rushing yards total, I would definitely smash that button and I would do that bet, because look at what Daniel Jones did. Look at what Justin Fields did. Those guys can create yards on their feet. That's going to happen with Josh Allen. Is he going to make all the throws like we've talked about that he's done in previous weeks? Probably not, but maybe he will. But I'm very intrigued by this game. It's a double-digit spread right now at 10. I'm curious if it goes up, if it goes down. Where are we going to be health wise for both teams?
Yeah.
Going to be very interesting to see that.